Hi everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Anna. Today I have a new story for you. It's called The Photography Class, and it's about a shy woman who decides to try something new, and what happens because of that small decision. As always, just relax and listen, and let's begin. Mia Turner worked as an accountant in a small office in the city. Every day looked the same. She woke up, went to work, sat at her desk, looked at numbers on a screen, ate lunch alone, worked a little more, and went home. She wasn't unhappy exactly, but her life felt very quiet, and a little bit gray. She didn't have many friends in the city. She had moved there 2 years earlier for the job, and she never really met new people outside of work. One evening, Mia was scrolling through her phone, feeling bored, when she saw an advertisement for evening classes at the community center near her apartment. There were classes for many different things: cooking, painting, yoga, dancing, and photography. Mia stopped on the photography class. She had always liked taking photos, mostly of small things, flowers in the park, interesting buildings, her cat sitting in the sun. But she never studied it properly. She always just used her phone camera and hoped the photos looked nice. She looked at the class information. It was an 8-week course, once a week, on Tuesday evenings. The teacher's name was James. The description said, "No experience needed. Bring your camera or your phone. Learn the basics of photography, and explore the city together." Mia felt nervous just thinking about it. She wasn't a very confident person. She didn't like talking to strangers, and the idea of a class full of new people made her stomach feel tight. But something about the class also made her curious. She thought about her quiet, gray life, and she thought, maybe it's time to try something different. Before she could change her mind, she clicked the button and signed up for the class. The first Tuesday evening arrived quickly. Mia stood outside the community center, holding her phone tightly, feeling ready to turn around and go home. But she took a deep breath and walked inside instead. The classroom was bright and simple, with chairs arranged in a circle instead of straight rows. About 10 people were already there, talking quietly to each other. Mia felt her heart beating fast as she found an empty chair near the back and sat down, hoping nobody would notice her. A man walked into the room a few minutes later, holding a large camera and a cup of coffee. He looked to be around 40 years old, with gray hair and friendly eyes. This was James, the teacher. "Good evening, everyone," James said, smiling at the group. "Welcome to the photography class. Before we start talking about cameras and photos, let's do something simple. Let's go around the room, and everyone can say their name, and one reason why they joined this class." Mia's stomach tightened again. She hated this kind of activity. When it was her turn, she spoke quietly. "My name is Mia. I joined because I like taking photos, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I wanted to learn properly." "That's a great reason," James said kindly, and moved on to the next person, which Mia was thankful for. She listened to the other people in the class. There was Oliver, a university student who wanted to take better photos for his social media. There was Grace, a retired teacher who wanted a new hobby after finishing work. There was a married couple, Ben and Priya, who loved traveling and wanted to take better photos on their trips. And there was Noah, a quiet young man who worked at a bookshop and said he wanted to photograph the city at night. For the first class, James talked about the basics of photography. He talked about light, and how important light is for a good photo. He talked about composition, which means how you arrange things inside the photo. He showed examples of good photos and not so good photos, and explained the differences. Mia listened carefully, taking notes in a small notebook she had brought. At the end of the class, James gave everyone homework. For next week, he said, "I want you to take 10 photos around your neighborhood. Try to think about the light and the composition we talked about today. Don't worry about making them perfect. Just practice." Mia walked home that evening feeling a strange mix of nervous and excited. The class had been a little scary, but it had also been interesting. She thought about the homework the whole walk home. That week, Mia started noticing her neighborhood differently. On her way to work, she noticed how the morning light fell on the old buildings near her apartment. On her lunch break, instead of eating alone at her desk like usual, she walked to a small park nearby and took photos of the trees and the people sitting on benches. She photographed her cat sitting in a patch of sunlight on the kitchen floor. By the end of the week, she had taken almost 50 photos, choosing her favorite 10 for the class. The second Tuesday evening, Mia arrived at the community center feeling a little less nervous than the first time. She still felt shy, but she recognized some faces now, and that helped a little. James asked everyone to show their photos from the homework. One by one, people shared their pictures on a large screen at the front of the room. Oliver showed photos of skateboarders at a local park, full of movement and energy. Grace showed quiet, careful photos of her garden. Ben and Priya showed photos of the sunset from their balcony, taken on 3 different evenings. When it was Mia's turn, her hands felt a little shaky as she connected her phone to the screen. She showed her photo of the morning light on the old buildings, then her photo of the park, and finally, her photo of her cat in the sunlight. "This one is lovely," James said, looking at the photo of the cat. "Look at how the light falls across the floor here, and how it highlights the cat's fur. This is exactly what we talked about last week, using natural light well." Mia felt her cheeks turn a little red, but it was a good feeling this time, not an embarrassed one. A few other students said they liked her photos too. Noah, the quiet young man, told her afterward that he especially liked the composition of the park photo, how the bench was positioned slightly to one side instead of directly in the middle. "Thank you," Mia said, surprised that Noah had noticed such a small detail. "I didn't even think about that when I took it. I just liked how it looked." "Sometimes the best photos happen like that," Noah said. "You don't always need to think too hard about it." In the third week, James gave the class a homework task that made almost everyone in the room feel nervous, including Mia. "This week," he said, "I want you to photograph a stranger. Someone you don't know. You have to ask their permission first, of course, but I want you to practice talking to people, and photographing them in a natural way, not posed and stiff." Mia felt her stomach drop when she heard this. Talking to strangers was already difficult for her. Asking a stranger if she could take their photo felt almost impossible. For 3 days, she carried her camera around but couldn't find the courage to ask anyone. On Thursday evening, walking home from work, she passed an elderly man sitting outside a small shop, playing a violin for coins. His music was beautiful, quiet and a little sad, and a small group of people had stopped to listen. Mia stood at the edge of the small crowd for almost 10 minutes, telling herself to just ask him. Finally, when the song ended and people started to walk away, she stepped forward. "Excuse me," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "Your music was really beautiful. Would it be okay if I took a photo of you? I'm taking a photography class, and I need to photograph someone." The old man looked up and smiled. "Of course," he said. "Nobody has asked to photograph me in a long time." Mia took several photos while he continued playing, and a few more while they talked afterward. He told her he had played the violin in this same spot for almost 15 years. When she showed the photos to the class the following week, James said it was one of the best photos in the room, praising the way she had captured the man's expression exactly as he closed his eyes while playing a difficult note. "You waited for the right moment," James told her. "That's a skill many photographers never really learn." After that evening with the violin player, something shifted in Mia. Talking to a stranger, even for just a few minutes, hadn't destroyed her the way she always feared it might. It had actually felt good, exciting even. She started noticing herself saying yes to small things more often, things she would have avoided before. Over the following weeks, the class continued. James taught them about different topics each week: how to photograph at night, how to edit photos simply without changing them too much, and how to tell a story with just one photograph. Every week, there was new homework, and every week, Mia found herself looking at the world a little differently, noticing small details she never used to notice before. Slowly, Mia also started talking more with her classmates. During the break in the middle of each class, when everyone got coffee or tea from a small table at the back of the room, Mia found herself chatting with Grace about gardens, with Oliver about university life, and most often, with Noah about books, since he worked at a bookshop and always had good recommendations. "You should come with us sometimes," Grace said one evening during the break. "A few of us go for a coffee after class sometimes, just to talk more." "You're always welcome." Mia hesitated. Normally, she would say no and go straight home. But she thought about her quiet apartment, and she thought about how nice the last few weeks had felt. "Okay," Mia said. "I'd like that." That evening, after class finished, Mia joined Grace, Oliver, and Noah at a small cafe near the community center. They talked for almost an hour, about photography, about their jobs, about funny stories from their weeks. Mia didn't say very much at first, but by the end of the evening, she found herself laughing at one of Oliver's stories about a photography mistake he made, accidentally photographing his own thumb instead of the skateboarders for almost 10 minutes without noticing. After that evening, the small group started meeting for coffee after almost every class. Mia looked forward to it every week. She still felt shy sometimes, but less and less as the weeks passed. She started to feel like she actually had friends in the city, real friends, not just people from work that she said hello to in the hallway. Even her colleagues at the office started to notice a change in Mia. One afternoon, a coworker named Rachel, who sat at the desk next to hers, asked why Mia seemed different lately. "You've been smiling more," Rachel said. "And yesterday, you actually joined the conversation at lunch instead of eating alone at your desk like always. What's going on?" Mia felt a little surprised that someone had noticed. "I started a photography class a few weeks ago," she said. "I don't know, it's just made me feel more confident, I think. I've met some really nice people." "That's wonderful," Rachel said. "Maybe you could show me some of your photos sometime." Mia hesitated for only a second before agreeing, something that would have felt impossible to her 2 months earlier. That evening, she brought her phone to Rachel's desk before leaving work and showed her a few favorite photos. Rachel was impressed, and told 2 other coworkers about it the next day, who also asked to see Mia's pictures. For the first time since starting the job, Mia felt like people at work actually knew a little about who she really was, not just the quiet woman who did the numbers correctly and never said much. In the 5th week, James announced something exciting. "In 3 weeks," he said, "there will be a small exhibition at the community center. It's open to anyone who wants to show a few of their photos from this course. It's not a big, fancy event, just a simple evening where friends and family can come look at everyone's work. I encourage all of you to take part, even if it feels a little scary." Mia's stomach immediately felt tight again, just like the first evening of the class. The idea of strangers looking at her photos, maybe even judging them, felt frightening. "I don't think I'll do it," Mia told Noah quietly during the break. "I'm not good enough." Noah looked at her, surprised. "Mia, your photos are really good. Better than you think. Remember the one of your cat? Or the photo you took last week of the old man feeding pigeons in the square? That one was beautiful." "Maybe," Mia said, still unsure. "I don't know. I've just never done anything like this before. Showing my work to strangers." "You don't have to decide right now," Noah said gently. "Just think about it." For the next week, Mia thought about it constantly. Part of her wanted to hide, to skip the exhibition and stay comfortable and safe, like she always did. But another part of her, a newer part, remembered how good it felt to try something new 8 weeks ago, when she signed up for this class in the first place, scared but curious. Eventually, Mia decided to do it. She told Grace and Oliver during the next class, and they were both excited for her. "That's wonderful, Mia," Grace said. "I'm doing it too. We can be nervous together." For the final 2 weeks of the course, everyone worked on choosing their best photos for the exhibition. James helped each student choose 3 or 4 photos that worked well together, that told some kind of small story. Mia spent a long time looking through the hundreds of photos she had taken over the past 2 months, finally choosing 4. The photo of her cat in the sunlight, the photo of the old man feeding pigeons, a photo of rain falling on the city street at night, and a photo of Noah laughing during one of their coffee evenings, which she had taken without him noticing. On the Saturday before the exhibition, the small group decided to meet for a photo walk around the old part of the city, an area full of narrow streets, small shops, and an old market that had existed for over 100 years. Grace suggested it, saying it would be a good way to relax together before the busy week of preparing photos for the exhibition. They met early in the morning, when the light was soft and the streets were still quiet. Mia brought Max along too, since dogs were allowed in that part of the city on weekends. For almost 3 hours, the group wandered slowly through the market and the small streets, stopping often to take photos, sharing ideas, and helping each other find good angles. "Look at this doorway," Noah said at one point, pointing to an old wooden door covered in peeling blue paint. "The color is amazing against the gray wall." Mia took a photo of it, then noticed an old woman sitting on a step nearby, watching the market with a calm, thoughtful expression. She asked permission, and the woman agreed happily, telling Mia a little about how she had lived on that street her entire life. By the time they stopped for lunch at a small restaurant near the market, everyone had dozens of new photos on their cameras and phones. They sat outside, eating and talking, comparing pictures on their screens, laughing about Max, who had tried to steal a piece of bread from Oliver's plate when nobody was watching closely enough. "I'm really glad we do this," Grace said, looking around at the group. 2 months ago, I didn't know any of you. Now I look forward to this every week." "Me too," Mia said quietly, and she meant it completely. The photo walk gave Mia several new ideas, and that evening, looking through her photos at home, she added the picture of the old woman on the step to her list of possible photos for the exhibition, alongside the ones she had already chosen. The night before the exhibition, Mia stayed up later than usual, carefully printing her final 4 photos at a small print shop near her apartment, since James had suggested printed photos would look better on the walls than photos shown on a screen. She chose frames for each one, simple black frames that wouldn't distract from the images themselves. As she packed everything carefully into her bag for the next evening, she felt a familiar nervous feeling in her stomach, but underneath it, she also felt something new, a small, quiet sense of pride. The next morning, disaster almost struck. Mia woke up and checked her bag before work, only to discover that one of her 4 frames had a small crack in the glass, probably from being packed too tightly the night before. She felt a rush of panic, imagining the whole day ruined. She quickly texted the group, and within minutes, Noah replied, saying he knew a shop near his workplace that could replace the glass quickly. During her lunch break, Mia rushed across town, and the shop fixed the frame in under 20 minutes, refusing to accept much money for such a small job. By the time she returned to work, her heart was still racing, but the photo was safe. The night of the exhibition finally arrived. The community center was decorated simply, with everyone's photos printed and hung on the walls around the main room. Mia arrived early with Grace, both of them helping James arrange the last few photos before people started arriving. As the room slowly filled with visitors, family members, friends, and curious people from the neighborhood, Mia felt her nervousness returning. She stood near her photos, watching people walk past, sometimes stopping to look, sometimes just walking on to the next wall. An older woman stopped in front of Mia's photo of the old man feeding pigeons. She looked at it for a long moment. "This is lovely," the woman said, not knowing Mia was standing right next to her. "Look at the light here, and his expression. Whoever took this really understands people." Mia felt a warm feeling spread through her chest. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I took that one." The woman turned, surprised and pleased. "Really? It's wonderful. You have a real eye for this." Throughout the evening, more people stopped to look at Mia's photos, and a few more said kind things about them. Mia found herself talking more easily than she expected, explaining where she took each photo, what she was thinking about at the time. By the end of the evening, she had talked to more strangers in one night than she usually talked to in an entire month. Near the end of the exhibition, James gathered everyone together for a few final words. I want to thank all of you, he said, for coming to this class, for trying something new, and for being brave enough to show your work tonight. Photography isn't really about having an expensive camera or knowing complicated technical things. It's about noticing the world around you, and sharing what you notice with other people. I think every single one of you did that beautifully tonight. Everyone clapped, and Mia found herself smiling widely, something she didn't do very often. After the exhibition ended, the small group, Mia, Grace, Oliver, Noah, and even Ben and Priya, went to celebrate at their usual cafe, staying much later than normal, laughing about the whole 8 weeks, about mistakes and lessons and everything they had learned, not just about photography, but about themselves. So, what now? Oliver asked. The course is finished. Are we still going to see each other? I think we should, Grace said firmly. Maybe we start our own little photography group. We could meet once a month, explore a different part of the city, take photos together. Everyone liked the idea immediately, and they agreed to meet again in 3 weeks, at a park none of them had photographed before. As Mia walked home that night, later than she usually stayed out, she thought about how different her life felt now compared to 2 months earlier. She thought about her quiet apartment, her quiet lunches alone, her quiet weekends with nothing much to do. That life already felt like it belonged to someone else, someone she used to be. She still worked as an accountant. She still looked at numbers on a screen every day. But now, she also carried her camera with her almost everywhere, always looking for small, interesting moments, the kind of light on a building, the kind of expression on someone's face, the kind of small story hidden in an ordinary street. And now, she had friends to share those moments with too. A year later, Mia's small photography group was still meeting once a month, sometimes joined by new people who wanted to try it too. The group had grown from 5 people to almost 12, and they had explored nearly every part of the city together, from the old market to the docks by the river, to a small forest just outside the city where they once spent an entire Saturday photographing autumn leaves. Mia herself had even started teaching a beginner sometimes, a nervous young man named Jack who reminded her a lot of herself a year earlier, quiet and unsure but curious. She showed him the same basics James had taught her, about light, and composition, and simply paying attention. She still remembered how nervous she had felt walking into that first class, and she always told new people the same thing James used to say, it's not about being perfect, it's about noticing the world, and being brave enough to share what you see. The community center asked James to run a second exhibition that following summer, and this time, Mia didn't hesitate at all when he asked if she wanted to take part again. She chose 6 photos this time, including one from the very first week of the original class, the photo of her cat sitting in a patch of sunlight, alongside newer photos from the past year, including one of the whole photography group standing together outside the old market on a sunny Saturday morning, taken by a stranger they had asked to help, using Noah's camera. Standing in the community center on the night of the second exhibition, looking at a full year of photographs on the wall, Mia felt something she never expected to feel when she first signed up for that nervous, uncertain evening class. She felt completely at home. And that's the end of today's story, the photography class. I really like this story, because I think many of us have something we want to try, but we feel too nervous or too shy to actually start. Before you go, think about this for a moment. Is there something new you've wanted to try, a class, a hobby, a skill, but you've never started because you felt nervous? Maybe, like Mia, this is a good time to try it. Thank you so much for listening today. This has been Anna, and this is the podcast. See you in the next episode. Take care, and keep practicing your English.